Hello and welcome everyone to the video. This is the second tutorial video for Info 4321 Creative Design Technique. And in this video, we're going to be creating a poster using geometric patterns. Before we begin creating the actual poster, I want to show you a little bit on how we can create these 15 shapes that can be used inside of the poster later. So the first shape is quite literally just a square. So using the rectangle tool, create a square by clicking and dragging and holding shift on your keyboard to create a proportional rectangle. The second shape is actually a quarter of a circle. So to do that, using the direct selection tool or hit A on your keyboard, click on either one side of this square here. Simply click and drag to create a quarter of a circle. As for the third shape, what you want to do is to have this square as the base shape, have this one selected, and still use the direct selection tool. Right now, what you want to do is to click on one side of the circular handle, the circular tiny handle here, using the direct selection tool. Click to select and shift select another point that is diagonal to this point here, which is on this side over here. Make sure it's diagonal. So once you have those two selected, just click and drag to create this shape here. The next shape is just quite literally a perfect circle. You can use the ellipse tool to create a perfect circle, but in our case, the base shape will still be a square. So from this square here, simply click and drag the tiny circular handle all the way to the center to create a perfect circle. That's how you create a circle from a rectangle or a square. The next shape here is quite interesting as it involves an extra step to create it. So to create this shape, what you want to do first is to simply turn this base square into a circle by clicking on the circular handle and pulling it to create a circle. Once you have that, have this circle selected, go to Object, and then go to Path, and then hit Offset Path. Okay. Once you have this, you can change the offset to whatever value that you want. You can go all the way down to whatever value that you want until you get something that looks like this. Okay. Only play around with the offset value. You don't have to worry about the joints and the meter limit. That will not be covered in this tutorial. Just play around with the offset value and you should find something that looks like this in the end. The next shape here is quite literally the opposite of the circle, but using the exact same process and tool. To create this shape, simply have your base square shape here, have it selected, go to Object, go to Path, and hit Offset Path again. I'm just going to stick with -200 or -300 and then hit OK. Okay, for this next shape, it's quite interesting because we're going to touch on another tool which is called Split into Grid. Now, what you want to do is to just have this base square shape over here. Once you have this selected, go to Object and then go to Path and hit Split into Grid. Okay, so once you have that, the numbers that you want to be concerned about are the number of rows and the number of columns. You don't have to look at anything else for now. Change the number of rows to 2 and the number of columns to 2. And you should divide this square into 4 equal parts, like so. Once you have this, hit OK. And have all of these 4 squares selected. Okay, make sure to select all of them because these are individual squares. So have all 4 selected. And then go to the shape builder tool. Okay, the last thing that we have learned before. Shift M for the shape builder tool and join any 3 shapes that are beside each other. For example, I'm joining this, this, and this to create this. Once you have this, using the direct selection tool now. Okay, using the direct selection tool, you can click and just create a curve for the shapes over here. like so. Okay. The next shape is also literally quite simple. The same tool that we are going to be using is split into grid. So using this base square shape over here, have it selected, go to object, go to path and split into grid, and you want to split into 4 equal parts, so 2 for the number of rows and 2 for the number of columns. Once you have split the base shape into 4 equal parts, what you want to do is to just use the direct selection tool, and you can click and round off, creating a circle on each square here until you get something that looks like this. The next shape here is quite literally just a triangle, but there are a lot of ways for you to create triangles inside of Illustrator. For now, I'm going to show you how to use the scissors tool. First, have your base square shape over here. I'm just going to color this differently so you can see. And once you have this selected, hit C on your keyboard for the scissors tool, or go to the toolbar and find the scissor icon, and then simply click on 2 opposite points on the square to cut them apart. So I just click on this part and this part over here, and if I try to move the shapes, now the shape has been separated or cut. To create the triangle, just delete one part, and don't forget, after you have used the scissors tool, you have to join the shapes again. You have to join the shape back by using Ctrl J. That will join the shape and confirm the final position or the final shape of this object. Remember to always hit Ctrl J to join after you use the scissors tool. How about this shape over here? Quite simple. Using the base square shape here, simply click using the selection tool to create a circle from the base square shape, and again use the scissors tool, C on your keyboard, and cut the circle in half at the center here. And once you have cut in half like this, delete the top half and select the bottom half, and don't forget to join by using Ctrl J. That will finalize its final shape and you have this semicircle. The next shape here is also quite simple. To do so, with the base square shape here, what you want to do is to go into object and go to path and offset path. So I'm just going to offset this shape to -200, and then once you have this, simply click on the shape that is on the center only and create a circle from that shape. So as you can see here, this is quite simple on how to create this shape by using the offset path. So the next shape we are going to do is quite literally the opposite. What you want to do is to offset path this base square. So I'm just going to go to object, path and offset path. Once I have to set the offset value there, I'm going to change the color so you can see better. Instead of rounding off the center square, I'm going to round off the square that is outside to create this shape. So quite easy, same tool that you have used before to create this shape. Okay, now the next shape we're going to be creating is this shape over here. To create this, from your base square shape over here, select the shape, go to object, path, and split into grid. Don't forget to split this into 2 number of rows and 2 number of columns. Once you have this, have all of the 4 shapes selected. Okay, make sure all the 4 shapes are selected, and then using the shape builder tool, only join the 2 half of this shape. So I'm just going to join 2 of these to create this shape over here. Go back to the selection tool. Now you can just simply round off the parts that you want using the direct selection tool. For example, I'm just going to round off this part over here by hitting on one single circular handle here to create the semicircle for this part, create another semicircle for this part, and then I'm just going to, instead of rounding off the whole thing, I'm just going to select one circular handle down here, shift select another circular handle, and round them off. Next shape, also quite simple. Using your base square here, split into 4 grids. So object, path, split into grid, 2 number of rows, 2 number of columns. Once you have this, using the direct selection tool, only round off 2 of these shapes and just leave the other 2 as it is, just a square. So you'll have 2 squares and 2 circles in one single grid here. The last shape that we're going to be looking at is a quite funny shape, which is this shape over here. To create this shape, instead of splitting or offsetting the path, we're simply going to be using the direct selection tool. So create your base square over here. Using the direct selection tool, select on just one single handle on this square here. For example, I'm selecting this handle over here, not the circular handle, but the actual anchor point, or the actual anchor point for the shape, and then simply click and drag to move it. So hit shift on your keyboard to move it proportionally, and once you have that, the next thing you're going to do is to just find another anchor point. So I'm just going to select the anchor point on top here and select and pull it to the bottom, and use shift on your keyboard to proportionally move it to whatever shape that you want, something that looks like that. So it's not really perfect, but this is how you create this shape over here. Alright, once we're done creating all those 15 shapes and you now understand on how to create all those shapes, let's now enter into the template file that I've given that contains these 3 color palettes here. Once you are here, the first thing you're going to do is to just create a background. So to create a background, simply use the rectangle tool and just create a rectangle that covers the entire artboard here, like this. And you can choose any color you want, but I'm going to advise you for this project to choose a color that is not white for now. You can lock the background if you want. So to lock the background, it's over here. Simply click to toggle the lock button here. Now using the rectangle tool again, create a square that is not too big but not too small, and make sure the square is white in color. Make sure it's a white square, and you can position it however you want using the align tool if you want, but because we're going to put in text at the bottom here, I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller and just align it to the horizontal center but not the vertical center, so that there is a little space down here for the text to occupy later. So maybe something that looks like that is about okay, and make sure it's white in color. Once you have this square over here, if you can refer to the sample poster that I've given, the square over here will be separated into 25 equal parts, or 25 equal divisions. So it's 5 rows and 5 columns. And if you still remember on how to split the shape, is to just simply select the square over here, go to object, go to path, and hit split into grid. You can split the grid into 5 rows and 5 columns for now, and you will get equal squares that are 5 on the rows and 5 on the columns. This is what we want for the project. Using what I have shared with you previously, which is on how to create all those 15 shapes, you can now use all of these individual squares, all of these individual 25 squares, to create your shapes. You can use the direct selection tool to create all the shapes, and you can refer to the poster sample that I've given. I'm just going to quickly do this using a time lapse so that I don't waste too much time repeating what I've just shared with you previously. Alright, once you have done creating the shapes, for example like this, I am just referring to the sample poster to create these shapes. The next step is to just color the shapes using the color picker tool, or if you have your own colors, then you can use your own colors to just color this artwork. Okay, to use the color picker tool, simply select on one shape. For example, I'm selecting on this circle here. Use the eyedropper or color picker tool, so I on your keyboard for the eyedropper tool, and hit any colors on the color scheme to color your object. So it's quite simple, just repeat this process until you have colored the entire artwork here, and we're going to go ahead and create a background after this. Alright, once you're done coloring your artwork, the next step is to create a background for this artwork. First of all, you can already change the background to white if you want, so the entire background here, unlock the layer and change the color to whatever color that you want. For example, I'm just going to change it to white. Once you have this, we're going to create a background for this artwork, to just referring to the poster. To create that, simply use the rectangle tool, or you can just duplicate any of the squares here. So for example, I'm just going to duplicate this square over here, bring it all the way to the beginning here, and arrange it to the back. So the shortcut is Control open square bracket to bring it to the back, like so. Once you have that, you can just resize the square to become a rectangle, or however you want. If you want to make it longer, we can use the scissors tool to cut this shape and create a more interesting background than just a boring rectangle or boring squares. So select the background shape, see on your keyboard or click on the scissors tool, and you can cut the shape here in the middle. And once you have that, don't forget to join the shape again, Ctrl J, and you can simply resize it like so. And you can repeat the process for all of the other shapes to create a background that you like. Do remember that you can use the cut or scissors tool to cut the squares or the rectangles in half, and then you can resize it however you want to create interesting backgrounds. And once you're done with this, you are essentially done. You can add some text if you want. So we're just going to add some text at the bottom here. And there we go. Once you have done with the text, you are done with the geometric patterns, you are essentially done with the poster. Congratulations, you are here now. So you can stop here because we are already done with the poster design, but if you want to go a little bit further, I will show you or share with you how to change the colors of the poster easily using these two color palettes over here. So to do so, what you want to do now is to have this layer unlock So unlock the layer for the color guide over here. And then let's use the selection tool to select the first 5 colors. So the blue colors here. Select the whole scheme, the whole color scheme over here. Once you have that selected, go to the swatches tab over here. If you cannot find the swatches, it should be in window and swatches over here. Once you have that, with these selected, these 5 shapes selected, go to the swatches and hit new color group, which is at the bottom there. It's a folder icon. Click on that. You can rename your color group to whatever I want and then hit OK to create a new color group. Let's also do the same thing for the colors at the bottom here. So select the 5 colors and create a new color group. So once you have these 2 color groups over here, we can start to recolor this poster here. You can recolor the whole thing, or you can select bits and pieces of what you want to color. So I'm just going to select the parts of the poster that I want to recolor, which is only this geometric patterns here. So select all of the geometric patterns. I'm just going to lock all layers except for the geometric patterns. Have all of those selected. Once you have that, on top here, under your control panel, you should find this button here that says recolor artwork. So click on the recolor artwork button here, and once you are here, simply click on advanced options. And then once you have advanced options here, you can see that your color groups should be on the right here. So click on your color groups and you can see your poster colors will dynamically change according to what color groups you choose. So you can explore with the settings. You can, randomly change the colors, randomly change the hue and saturation balance, anything. You can explore this tab and find something that you like. And that is essentially how you recolor your artworks that have a lot of colors. Okay, so we are done and you should have your own geometric poster by now. So that is all from me for this tutorial, for tutorial 2, designing geometric patterns in a poster. And I guess I'll see you in the next video, in the next class. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Thank you.